Hi, I'm Benedikt Kaempgen from KIT in Karlsruhe, and I would like to talk about two projects we are currently doing with Semantic Media Wiki, where I think we really do something great, where we can maybe even improve the world. As funny it sounds? You will see. Okay, so the first one is about how to use Semantic Media Wiki as a semantic web browser. And the project where we use it is the Cora project, and there we try to help scientists in educational research to analyze historical literature. That's basically about lexica, for example. And the claim is that SMW Cora wiki, a wiki, can help with search, collaboration, knowledge management, of course, many more things. And okay, basically it's about old books, but it is definitely more exciting than it sounds. Okay, our recent work we've done in this project is about data integration. So we have imported lots of corpora, text, lexica, and you see here lots of different information, but the information we are focusing on today is the author information. So we have inside the wiki lots of information about a lexica, and one information is the author. And these authors are described in the wiki, but they are also described in the semantic web. So it's very modern. They have a URI, a unique identifier on the web. They have an HTML representation, and they've got an RDF representation. And so it is possible to annotate Josef Spieler with an equivalent URI how it is used on the semantic web. And the question now is how to browse this content in the wiki and the content in the semantic web. Or, as I use it from Anja's talk, why to link SMW to the web of data? What does it buy us? And the solution is the Semantic Web Browser, or let's say one solution. It is similar to Shortipedia, the thing what Danny and some colleagues did, but I would say for everyday use. Because Shortipedia is a great idea to combine both content of the wiki and the semantic web, but it is, as a semantic web browser, is more focusing on browsing the web and not pulling all the data into the wiki. And also, Semantic Web Browser is not focusing too much about provenance information, and why that is, I explain later, but the reason is we use the official information about the URI, and typically this information, this RDF file, describing them itself basically, is typically very trustable. The extension is based on the special page browse wiki, and basically we have created a new special page browse wiki in Semantic Web. And here you can see a screenshot of it. So we have Josef Spieler inside the wiki. We have properties that he has inside the wiki, like he is the author of a book, he is known by someone, and also he has an equivalent URI, and this equivalent URI can be resolved on the web, and there you can find information as well. So you find, for example, that the date of birth, which is annotated in the wiki, or he has two occupations, and one of the occupations is annotated in the web, in the wiki. And further browsing is possible, because if you click on the eye on the right side, you can further know what was the second occupation of Josef Spieler. And here you see it, it's Diplompsychologe, and now you could do a kind of educated copy and paste and put that into your wiki, and then it would show up not as a URI, but in this case as a page. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit technical, so I will just shortly go over it. What we do basically, and you cannot read it anywhere. Oh, okay, yeah, it works. So pages inside the wiki get annotated with the equivalent URI. That is a kind of open question. Who does that? Does it a machine? Does it an annotator? Who else? But this is the prerequisite of the semantic web browser. And then you can either start from a URI to browse from a URI on the web, or you start browsing from a wiki page that is annotated with an equivalent or several equivalent URIs. And then this, all these equivalent URIs we find for a page are resolved and displayed. And this is shown here. So we retrieve the RDF file of this URI, and we find all outgoing properties from the page, from the equivalent URI we are currently browsing. And then we find all the pages in the wiki that describe properties or objects contained in each single triple. And the same we do for the incoming triples, and then we visualize them. So maybe this is here, I'll make it more clear. So if you have the triple of the subject, predicate, object, you can look whether this triple is represented in the wiki with Joseph Spieler having the equivalent URI, occupation having the equivalent URI, and Pädagoge having the equivalent URI. And this is nicely to display. What are the advantages of the Semantic Web Browser? So first, it is basically no text search, but it is an entity search. If you have a URI from the Semantic Web, we can just ask the wiki whether it knows this entity. Also, we can see the interconnection between the wiki and the Semantic Web. So for example, if we browse the URI of my supervisor, Andreas Hart, we can directly see that he knows me, which is a good thing. But you see it directly. Yeah? Okay, and then also we can get additional information, because not always you want to store all kinds of kind of information inside the wiki. So for example, the actual address of a person, you might not want to store it in the wiki. You just want to have the equivalent URI, and then every time you visit that page, you get the actual address of that person. And also, of course, some information you want to store in the wiki, and then you could do this kind of educated copy and paste. So you take over certain triples inside the wiki, and from that moment on, they are possible to query. Okay, current work. We want to publish it soon in a beta version, and there's already lots of future work we would like to do with it. So, for example, this educated copy and paste. It is as hassle-some as it sounds. So we want to have a kind of JavaScript-like, as in Shortipedia, that you click on a triple and then it just put into the wiki. Also, we want to have the semantic web data not only displayed if you browse it with the semantic browse wiki and semantic web, but also with a kind of external fact box on the page. That would be great. Also, blank notes and language tags and data types we want to consider eventually. And also, maybe after a while, or let's say some URIs, their data is not represented as HTML and RDF, but as RDFA or some other embedded RDF format. And in this case, we also want to retrieve the RDF. And the RDF inside a file could say that I'm the same as something in DBpedia, or I'm the same as something different, and then we want to go recursively through all these same as links. We still think these are trusted sources because the person itself has put that he is the same as something. And of course, if you retrieve lots of information, then we need to do a kind of highlighting of more important properties or values, but we will think about that, how we could do that. And caching would also be a nice thing. And I quickly said that it is not quite sure how to put the equivalent URIs into the wiki. In our use case of Quora, the scientists have said we do that. It's no problem. We know where we find the URIs on the web, and we do the annotations because we think it's a good thing, and other people have some advantages of it. But in other use cases, it might be you might want to do some instance, some record linkage. So you have a populated wiki already, and then you have some algorithm that finds equivalent URIs on the web. Maybe that is a possibility. Okay, thanks. That is my first presentation. Do you have any question to the Semantic Web Browser?
Maybe I'm not an expert on that, but what are the top 3 reasons that people want to have a Semantic Web Browser? Why people want to use a Semantic Browser? Existing browser not good enough.
What I picture is, you, for example, if you go to a conference or you go to if you want to find some information, and you go to that page, to the HTML page, and it takes you a while until you find the very important part of it. So what is this conference? Where do I find the hotels? There's lots of advertisements on it. There are lots of additional information which I might not need. And the Semantic Web Browser, the idea of it itself is that you can browse and subjectively, I mean, depending on your needs. And so this is the general idea of the Semantic Web Browser, that you not need to watch everything the HTML programmers put on this.
Okay, there's some kind of filtering.
Exactly.
How do you handle the cases where you don't have an equivalent URI, data from the DMD, GMD?
In this case, we can only display what there is in the wiki. So either we have information in that wiki, or we can just only visualize this as an empty page which doesn't have any URIs in the wiki and in the web either. So because we don't have any information, we could do some guessing maybe, but if you don't have a wiki page, if you browse for a URI, this is something different. Then you at least know, okay, there is some page what maybe has some RDF represented. But if you're visiting a page, and this page has not an equivalent URI annotated with it, you don't have any machine readable.
So you don't claim to create your own URIs for these cases?
So when I'm in the Semantic Web Browser, and the value is the URI, that has no equivalent in the wiki or vice versa. When I click on this URI, what happens?
Then it happens. There was an example. This happens.
And then you see the URI in the Semantic Web Browser.
Yes.
Okay.
So you see the URI. You even you can create that URI, that page with the URI name. You could do that more nicely. You could, for example, say give it a name and then store it, maybe. But the most important thing is first that you are able to browse it further. And you see, you would still, which maybe this is not the best example, because we could, for example, have some page describing this, for example, yeah, and then at least it would make some sense.
It switches on just on time.
Ah,
There's both red buttons.
And then the green one?
Yeah, that's right. The structure. Both buttons. Hold down both red
Ah,
buttons.
yeah.
Both.
Yes.
You can borrow this one if you want.
So you could, for example, have this property annotated on the wiki, and then it would at least show that we know this property and what.
So the only requirement is that you have some equivalent URIs defined, right?
Yes, that is the.
That's cool, because then it will work very nicely with RDFI, for example. You use it for editing, and you can also view it in the original form.
Yeah.
That's cool. So probably I should go back to only use equivalent URI and maybe ditch the original URI stuff.
Yeah.
Let's switch off if you don't use it.
Good. Any more questions? Yeah.
So is this actually the special browse page, or is it a separate page? That
It is a
just happens
separate
to-
page.
Okay.
We don't want to mess up with the browse. We just want to have an extension that gives you a new special page. What we do is, if you visit a page, then at least it is shown browse properties and browse, I think we call it browse semantic web at the moment. So we can directly go there.
You can also have a hook in browse if you like,
Right.
if that is any use to you.
Yeah, maybe. But at the moment,
When are you putting this in the Wikimedia repository?
yeah. Why?
I mean, people can have a look at it,
Great,
like,
sure.
give feedback.
I can do it. I wanted to wait a little bit, but I can do it today.
Yeah, cool.
Sure. Very nice, yeah.
Any more questions?